Hello and welcome to my review of The Witcher from Netflix. As always, be sure to like, share, and subscribe the channel. That's how we continue to grow, and I do appreciate your support. So let's go ahead and get into this. So The Witcher with Netflix stars Henry Cavill, and then of course we have some really strong supporting characters like Yennefer. Ciri is among them as well. So the way this is going to go with the review, I'm going to start out with a non-spoiler, spoiler-free review, and then I'll give you an alert once we get into the spoiler section. So, but let's kick it off with a little bit of excitement. Let's give you a taste of the series and play some of the trailer. I'm going to have to talk over this, unfortunately, for copyright reasons.
I've heard tales of your kind, Witcher.
The fight scenes are really strong in this series.
Created by magic.
And the production quality.
The
cinematography is strong.
We don't want your kind here.
Hunting monsters for a price.
And a lot of the monsters are well done.
I thought you'd have fangs or horns or something.
I had them filed down.
Oh, and definitely Henry Cavill does a great job in this. He very much enjoys his role as Geralt.
Why not kill them?
Because they're...
All right, yeah. So I'm just going to pause on this right now. Essentially, yeah, just thinking about the extras work, the cinematography, everything that was happening in terms of the set design. They put a lot of effort into it for realism. I know there's been some complaints on things like costumes occasionally, but they're really just nitpicks. I do have some problems with certain things in the show, but they're minor things as well. So let's go ahead and continue on.
And what they say I am.
All of our choices draw our destinies closer.
There's really good chemistry between these characters. Henry Cavill has, I think he's underrated as an actor. A lot of folks say that he's wooden, but he generates chemistry.
Don't judge me.
With pretty much everyone he's on screen with, even his horse, where he's talking to his horse.
What do you believe in?
He has a chemistry with his horse, which I think is hard to do. I'm not saying that he's as talented as Joaquin Phoenix or has the range of an actor of that caliber, but he's very strong.
It's all the same.
Yeah, and even that line, let's go ahead and go back to that for a second. A little bit further here.
It's all the same.
Look at that. Look at how he delivers that line.
Middling. It's all the same.
I mean, that facial expression, that tone, that's really incredible acting. So I don't know where people are talking about his performances. Again, every time he's on screen, it doesn't really matter if he's talking to a major character or a minor character. He does a really great job with it. So we do have some epic battle sequences in this. There's some great
I'll take that chance.
Explosions and different real world effects. So they have done a lot of things extremely well. Actually, let's go ahead and play. December 20th of 2019 was the release date on this. So I'm a little late with my review. But yeah, there's the trailer for you. And getting into these characters. So again, Henry Cavill as Geralt of Rivia. Whenever he's on screen with anyone, he's making it work. Anya Chalotra, hopefully I've got that name right, as Yennefer, does a fantastic job. Yennefer was one of my favorite things in this show. Just I wasn't familiar with this diving into it, which can be kind of problematic, and I'll get into that in a minute. Ciri, the actress does a good job portraying Ciri. I think the director could have done a better job with the way that they worked Ciri into the story here. And they might have actually done where they were, I think there were 8 episodes total with this. they probably would have been better off doing 12 episodes because they do jump around in the timeline quite a bit. But yeah, I mean, essentially, the long and short of it is it's enjoyable. Definitely go watch it if you like Game of Thrones, you'll enjoy this. And I'm looking forward to season 2. Season 2 has definitely been approved, but I in the spoiler section, and we're going to get into that in a minute. I'll tell you some of the things that I had problems with. So, but again, if you're new to this, you're not familiar with the books or the game, you probably should print out some kind of a list of the timeline, because the timeline is very confusing. That's my biggest complaint with the series. They jump around a lot over the course of several years. So they might be jumping ahead a couple of weeks, a few months, 13 years. I mean, it's crazy. So you have to pay very close attention when you're going to get those clips back and forth. But I do recommend it. And I would say, just go find some kind of an episode guide that tells you where you're at in the story in terms of the timeline, and you'll be just fine. Now, if you don't like, if you're more of a high-minded, watcher, if you're more of the audience for, high level artistic fare, then this is not for you. I mean, it's a fantasy beat 'em up. It's passionate performances, but it doesn't go extremely deep. So if you're looking for something that's extremely deep, you might want to go more into something like Parasite. Parasite just came out recently, and that's a contender for Academy Awards. The movie Joker was very deep. I enjoyed that. There's some documentaries that blew my mind as well. But this is good. And I'd say this score right here, this 8.4 out of 10, I definitely agree with that. I mean, the thing that knocks it down again is the way that they shift back and forth in the timeline. So now I'm going to get into the spoiler section of the review, which isn't going to be much longer here. But in terms of, so spoiler alert, for those of you that don't want to be spoiled, just go ahead and tune out, go somewhere else and go watch the show and then come back. But in terms of spoilers, when I was going through this, some of the things I didn't like, there's a gold dragon that is just awful looking. And, I actually, let me see if I can bring that up. So look at the gold dragon. Yeah, there we go. It is just horrendous. Terrible CGI. And, oh my gosh, I saw it and I started laughing because it's just in animation and it's speaking to you. I mean, everything about it is wrong. It's one of the worst things I've seen in CGI. So don't expect a spectacular dragon. They probably just ran out of budget on it. But that isn't to say that it's a bad show. There's things, there's kind of a spider monster that he fights against. It's actually in this scene where he fights against the huge spider monster, and that goes over very well. So there are a lot of really well done monsters in the series. There's also like a hedgehog looking dude. I think that's yeah. This was really unfortunate. I mean, I really had a hard time taking this part seriously. It's just not conducive to good fantasy storytelling, or the fact that it's 2019. I don't know. It's very cartoonish looking. I understand they were kind of going for realism here, but it's also really off-putting, and it's not so much the uncanny valley sort of way, but the more, just so much that he looks like a rodent. And you could get the vibe of hedgehog without having to go full hedgehog, I guess is the best way to put it. So that was one that I really didn't like. So yeah, between that and the dragon, Um, it was a little bit hard to take, but again, there was the giant spider monster. This thing, is really great, and I hope they continue to bring up monsters like this because it was extremely well done. And it could be that when they were bringing this up, I think it's a Kikimora is what that's saying. Sorry, I'm not familiar with all the lore on this show, but it's extremely well done. Maybe they blew the budget on that, and so they couldn't afford as much on the dragon and the hedgehog, which is fine. But looking at the characters and how they went about this, what I really enjoyed is obviously Geralt and Yennefer, but then there were some characters that came. I think it was Renfri. Yeah, right here, Renfri was great, but Renfri was only around for a few episodes, and it would have, and I know from a story standpoint, she's supposed to be here and gone quickly, but I don't think they really needed to get rid of Renfri so quickly. I think they could have taken more time to build her up. She had a really phenomenal, fascinating backstory. So maybe, just something that I would suggest for season 2 is that they go into Renfri's backstory, because it was a shame to throw away Emma Appleton, who portrayed Renfri, did a tremendous job. And I mean, the show, I would say until her and Geralt start interacting, I was kind of lost in the show, and I was not really excited by it. So, that speaks a lot to her talent, her level of talent. And I don't think that they would be poorly served to tell Renfri's backstory in season 2. I also feel like with this being a fantasy epic, that they should greenlight more episodes. Because you're having a hard time getting everything if you're switching back and forth in timelines. So, for example, when we're telling Ciri's story, Ciri's story takes place a long time down the road. Ciri's story seems to take place about 10 years down the road from where the series starts out. So you're jumping back and forth in the timeline 10 years at a time. It's very, very jarring. And so what I would recommend, I think it's because the limited run, the limited number of episodes, that's what's hurting them. I would probably extend it to 12 episodes per season, which I don't think the fans would complain about. And then they could actually walk through some of these backstories for Renfri and some of these other characters that are more appealing. Because I mean, there was the I think it was Jaskier, the guy that walks around with Henry Cavill's character, and he's the bard. He sings all these songs about the Witcher, and it is cool. This, you see this toss a coin to your Witcher. He does a good job with that song, and it is iconic. It does leave an impression, but he didn't need as much screen time. He's not a really enjoyable part of the show, and I much rather would have seen more of Renfri's backstory, or more of Yennefer's backstory. Yennefer's transformation is handled extremely well in this show, and it's really what grounded me emotionally and made me care about it. And I'm not saying because she becomes beautiful. It's the fact that she struggled, that she was in pain. I really admire who she was and who she becomes. And I do like how multidimensional she is. I mean, honestly, if this show was just about Geralt and Yennefer, it would have been much more highly rated and more exciting to watch. Ciri, they could have looped in season 2 or season 3, and maybe they just felt like we've got the perfect person cast for that, so we don't want to waste it. But that's my opinion. I would have pushed the Ciri storyline out to season 2. Now, they could have filmed it. They certainly could have filmed it this year, and continue to film it for season 2, and then just cut them together. But again, I would have preferred to have the backstory, the entire backstory of Renfri, for probably 4 episodes so that we get quite a bit of Renfri, and then have the series season 1 ideally go for 12 episodes with mostly Geralt and Yennefer, to have 8 episodes to themselves, and then maybe introduce Ciri. Even let's say we go episode 13 and we introduce Ciri in episode 13, and then that leads us off into season 2, which would have been a nice take on that. And I know hindsight is 2020. I'm not saying that it's easy to produce or make these shows. You know, I've written and published 5 novels, so I understand storytelling, and I understand when you kind of zoom into the project and you're very deep into the weeds on something, it can be hard to kind of back out at a 10,000 foot view and see exactly what you're creating. But anyways, I mean, I'm very excited for season 2 to see what they do. I think they need to slow it down. There's the discipline that's involved in shows like this. But again, this character, or this actress who played Renfri, did an amazing job. Let me just reference her name one more time. So Renfri was played, I apologize, I have the worst memory for names, Emma Appleton. Emma Appleton is a force of nature, and keep an eye on her career, because I think she's going to go places very quickly. She's got a lot of screen presence and star power, and I mean, even if you look at the way that she's controlling that situation right there. I mean, there's intrigue, there's kind of a sadness going on. There's a lot of emotions being portrayed just right there in that still. So I'm really fascinated to see where her career goes. But again, I hope they bring her back for season 2 to go through her full backstory, because that would be amazing. So that's my review of The Witcher. Again, be sure to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. We're going to have more of these videos coming up. We're also going to have some short theme videos, and then also leave comments. You know, we want to make sure that we improve this content for you. The whole point, everything that I'm doing here, is to make this experience better for you. So, anyways, until next time, I appreciate your time, and stay solid. Bye.